We're back on the Good Morning Artesia radio show. County Commissioner John Henry is with us. Let's get into some of the things you wanted to talk about. I mean, it was very interesting talking about energy and how it affects Eddy County and not just our businesses and industries in Eddy County, but the grid and how that's going to, because if that affects oil and gas, if we don't have power for the pump jacks, I mean, there's just all these things that are intertwined.
Right.
You think it's difficult worrying about business electricity for your business.
Right.
Think about all the industries that rely on reliable power to be able to do what they need to do.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, it's just compounding after compounding. So
yeah,
lots of other good things. A lot of discussion. We've had some folks coming and talking about roads, and so there's been quite a bit of discussion about roads. I think some interesting stuff I'll toss out today. The county has about 1,240 miles of roads, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it's a lot. That's a lot of road to have to cover. These numbers, we're missing something somewhere, but he says it's about 840 paved and 300 unpaved. That obviously, for those doing math, there's 100 missing somewhere. I don't know what those are, but I recognized it. I can do math too. So, but this year alone down here in Artesia, they did about 47 miles worth of roads in the collector roads, which are your major intersections that kind of move a lot of stuff. They did about 92 miles of collector roads, 98 miles of local roads, 237 miles of paved roads, and 200 miles of unpaved. So, lots and lots of work has been done. That was in 2021. I think I said last year, but or since 2021. A lot of efforts being put into roads. I think he said we spent around 50 million-ish the last year and a half on just roads. So, the county the last 3.5, 4 years has really put a ton of efforts into getting those roads up to speed. If you remember, we did that survey 4 years ago-ish when Jason first came on to kind of help us understand where we were. We knew we were in bad shape, but where exactly were we? What did we have that was good, and what did we have that was terrible? And then that group, they were able to help put priorities with road counts, with traffic counts, with all these different things. And so he's been tackling that the best that we can as money comes up. I mean, we're not an endless, you and I just had that off air, we're not an endless supply of money. It's only $1 million. Well, there's only so many millions that we have, unfortunately. And but I think the commission has done a great job of every time we do have extra money, if there's overage, we are putting it right back into the roads to try to catch up. I think we understood where we were, what we kind of inherited, and where we needed to go with it. So I think they've done a great job. Now, people listen out there say, well, my road's terrible. I totally understand that. There are still roads out there that we have to get to, that we need to get to, that are probably on the list. But there's still many things. There's we used to talk about it quite a bit. We haven't talked about it as much, but you can still go report your road on their website. You can go say, hey, it's this road, mile marker, whatever you need to. It goes straight to their site. You can kind of track it with them. One thing I've asked, because some folks are saying, well, y'all aren't doing anything to roads. Well, I'm like, and we're spending an awful lot of money to do nothing. So all that, what Jason is working on now, our roads department, is hopefully within the next week and a half, we should have it live. But you can go on there and it'll be an interactive map to see exactly what they've done, where they're going, what they're doing next, where they've been, all those things, so folks can kind of say, oh, okay, there's my road, and it make it a little more easy for folks to navigate it. Mm-hmm. So that is something that he and I talked about, I guess, last week or 2 weeks ago, to say, hey, that might be super helpful, because then folks can understand when you say nothing's been done. Well, here's some things that are done here, and I know it's frustrating. I totally understand that. Here's where I am on the list. There's a road down here. It took me about a year to finally get them to it, but now it's a great road, and those folks are very happy. I've visited with them recently. There's another road, Johnson Road, that's been called on a lot. We're working on it. It's on the list, and it's coming. So that's another road down here that, I totally understand the frustration because we want those roads right away, and sometimes it's difficult to get to them all. But they're on those schedules. We're getting to them. We're trying to get to them as fast as we can. And I do think that the roads department, I don't like when folks say nothing happens, because I think our roads department, that takes away from what they've accomplished. And they've accomplished a lot over that time frame. And so I'm real proud of them. You had a lot of FEMA projects in there as well, which kind of throw a different deal to the whole party, right? I mean,
Right.
you got everything's coming out of different spots and different things, but overall, I think we're in such a better spot than where we started. Obviously, are we where we want to be? Absolutely not. But I do think we're working diligently to try to get there. So
the county, you have your own. The county has its own road crew that's doing the bulk of this work.
Sort of.
Have there been projects that have been put out for bid that you've had other independent contractors come in to work on?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of mix of both. We have we've got the independents working really hard on a lot of projects. Jason was talking yesterday during his time to speak that, you know, we've really gone to a chip seal process, which I still don't speak road wonderfully, but I kind of understand chip seal a little better now. But he said they worked really hard on perfecting it to where we could go in there and do a whole lot more roads, chip seal them, and apparently they've gone back to look at them a number of times, and they're holding up really well under the pressure. So they're really getting good at, and that's a lot of what our departments can do. Our internal group can go out there, chip seal roads, reclaim them, get them up to going quicker, faster, and cheaper, which would obviously be the goal, because the less money you're having to spend for a major repair, the more we can get out of it, as long as it's a good repair or great repair that lasts. We don't want
Sure.
to waste money and have to come back re-chip it. But it looks like what they've been doing is holding, according to him, for the most part. I'm sure there's some spots where you might have more traffic. Whatever the case is, that's just how it is. It's the nature of the animal. And but what we've heard are good reports on how that's holding, and look forward to getting a lot more done. So
That's a lot of mileage of
It
roads,
is, yeah.
and that may be comparable to some states back east that
You
have
know,
just
that's-
very small territories.
Yeah, I think folks think, oh, well, that's not a very big number, and it's a big county. Well, it is a big county, but then you also have to take into effect, you do see a lot of roads, and some folks, you know, I'll get called and say, this road's terrible. Okay, well, that's a state road, or that's a city road, or so you've got to understand, you know, roads aren't all, just because it's in the county doesn't mean it is a county road. It could be anything. It could be at least, who knows what it is, or we don't have it on the books. It might be an old road that we vacated, and there's a reason why. And so, you know, when you're looking at mileage, that's just county road mileage. That doesn't include all the other roads out there. And so, you know, you got to make sure you're on the right road. And but that's why, you know, folks do a good job of calling me, letting me know where they're at, what they need, and I've got to say, 9 times out of 10, I'll get a text back really promptly saying, great, thanks, they've already been out here to fix it, we're moving again. So,
Yeah.
you know, it's that communication. We don't know where everything is, and you know, down here, it seems like it's been really smooth, and
Trying to get that done. So, is it on the website? The road report
so
line?
when that interactive thing comes on, it will be on his website, and I'll make sure I'll let you know, and I'll make sure to put that message out there, because I'd really like to see if that helps folks understand, to see all the roads, where they're at, what's been done, where we're headed, and I think it'll be really helpful, because like I said, I truly understand the frustration. I really do, because I get frustrated all the time too, right? Well, why isn't this mine done? Well,
Right.
sometimes it has to do with traffic count. It's just like we're having some discussions on some lights. Well, to me, it's the most important thing in the state of New Mexico to have this signal in. To others, you're like, well, the traffic count's not there, so you're here on the list, and here's why. So I understand the frustrations, because we live them every day when we're, as elected officials, trying to get things accomplished for the citizens as well through other means. And so I get it, but you know, continue to communicate with me down on this side, and we're going to do everything we can to get those roads. So that was a big part of that discussion. I'm proud of where we're headed, and where we've come from. I think we've made a good stride in the right direction. Some of the other big discussions yesterday, we've had quite a few vacancies happening in the sheriff's office as well as the detention center. So those are both on the agenda. And so what we saw is you know, some of the departments around us, it's been pretty stagnant's the wrong word. nobody's really done anything to jump in probably 4 years or so, about 4.5 years. And so we started to see a little bit of movement. And so to try to make sure that our sheriff's office stays in the realm, not the highest paid, not the kind of like what the city did. We don't want to be the highest, we don't want to be the lowest. Let's just be in that ballpark to where we can play the game, right? We can hopefully get some folks. And so those were discussions for both of those. I think when we talk jail, I would go back to, and I said it yesterday, it's not super popular when I say one of the big fixes for the jail is if at some point, if we can build a new jail that is a little more state of the art, a little more updated, maybe make it towards we can have less staff but better coverage, because that's definitely feasible. That might help, because obviously you're not seeing a lot of employees jump anywhere. I mean, everybody's got help wanted signs. So how do we make an environment to where we can do more with less, but also do it more efficiently, effectively, and everything else? So those were both topics on there yesterday, quite a bit of discussion on them. Both went through. We definitely passed both. And so hopefully we'll see. The sheriff has some vacancies that we need to get filled, because obviously that helps everyone. It helps the cities, helps the county.
Right.
We want to make sure.
So what action specifically did the commission take in that regard?
So and I would have to bring the paper on the sheriffs. There were different percentages for different.
So there's some pay raises?
So there were some pay raises for the sheriff. There's pay raises for the detention center to try to incentivize maybe some more applicants.
I think I heard that's what you said, but I want to make sure.
I should have made it more clear. I'm sorry. Yeah. So there were some pay raises, trying to get a little bit more competitive with the surrounding areas.
Gotcha.
So that was a good thing, needed to be done. Lots happening. I mean, there's a whole lot happening. The sheriff had a lot of discussion, and I think he's right. I think if you look at Pecos Valley, our drug task force is probably one of the best. I'd put them up against anyone, doing a lot of great work out there for us. Obviously, we continuously hear fentanyl. We talked about it a lot a year ago, saying, hey, this is going to be a problem. And now, I mean, it was a problem then, but now it's a real problem.
Right.
And you're seeing the bust they're making. And so it's hard to say you should be real proud of them, because you hate that we're having to bust that, but you should be real proud of them, because I think we have one of the best task force, and obviously the sheriff's department, all the local agencies are in that together.
There's so much that's coming in. I guess all we can do is just try to build a little bubble around us and have it go around us and not linger here.
And that was one of our big discussions yesterday, is I don't know how you slow it down, but if you look at how much we're capturing, you wonder how much is getting around. But if we could make us a hard area where folks start saying, hey, just don't go around, that doesn't help, because it's still getting out, but at least it's hopefully trying to keep it out of our community. I mean, that's the best we can do. Is I don't know how to. There's great ways to stop it until that starts happening, or there starts efforts there. We can do what we can for Eddy County and Artesia and Carlsbad, and make sure that we shore up our areas the best we can.
Okay, so that's good. So see what happens with that.
Yeah. So those were the big. There was a lot of discussion around those three items. Everything else was pretty simple yesterday. Nothing super exciting. Nothing super exciting. So
we got some pay raises for the sheriff and the jail, trying to get folks hired there. A lot of talk about the roads.
Yep.
And then your energy discussions that are going on.
And one of the statistics he used yesterday, I don't remember if it was the sheriff or who threw it out there, but overall in the state of New Mexico, there's a 40% vacancy rate in the state of New Mexico for sheriffs and jails across the state.
40%?
40% in the state of New Mexico.
That's huge.
Yeah. And that's been a huge discussion of, well, why? And I think when you think, well, just go try to recruit from out of state, we have passed a lot of legislation that makes it that very difficult to some extent. So, you're trying to bring them in, but a lot of our folks are traveling across state too now. So it's been a really interesting environment that they're having to operate in. I think all of our agencies are doing a great job of recruiting the best they can and keeping us as whole as they can.
But you wonder, because I think the immunity
that's
legislation that passed has made it difficult for people to want to do law enforcement in New Mexico.
Right.
I'm sure that's a factor.
That's a factor, sure.
In some of that. So it just kind of falls on deaf ears. I think the people that passed it are proud that they passed it and think that they've done something great.
But it's interesting because that's got to be, at some point, has to be part of the discussion, even in Santa Fe, of, okay, y'all have passed this, but look at what's happening. I mean, when you have some departments in the state that could be upwards of 100 officers short, 100 officers short.
Maybe that's the goal.
It could, but then you're also on the flip side, though. You're constantly saying, "Hey, we've got to fight crime. We've got to fight crime." Okay, those don't. You're not coinciding with each other. I mean, you're making it very difficult for us to fight crime.
Well, you could put 3 times as many cops on the street.
Yeah.
What do you do with the perps once you arrest them? If they're not held and prosecuted,
right?
You could have a cop on every corner. It's not going to make any difference.
And that's it as well, right? So you see that across America, where a lot of these cities, big cities, are having major problems because I think the police are correct. Why should I arrest somebody for this? It puts me in harm's way, and they're going to be right back here within hours.
Yeah.
And so it is a major system that has to be corrected at some point. I think they overcorrected. Now we have to bring it back to some sort of a balance and say, hey, if you're a criminal, you're a criminal, and that's not okay. We can't say that's okay. It's not.
Right.
And we've got to get over that. And so what does that mean? And we've got to come to some sort of balance of, okay, here's apparently what our society will accept, and here's what they won't. But right now, I mean, I'm watching those videos where they're going into stores and just doing whatever they want.
Yeah.
And there's nothing to go. So
nothing
it's sad.
to stop them. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Appreciate
Glad
it.
to be back.
Commissioner John Henry, and next week will be the mayor.
Yeah, I'll be here next week.
All right. This is KSVP RT.